And one of the comments was, I don't know if exactly. Do you remember what the comment
Yeah,
was?
so
Okay, you go.
it was so a kid, and I get like a ton of comments, but the kid, this one in particular, and it's not just this one kid. Like there's a million that come in like this.
Yeah.
So he's a 2004.
Yeah.
And his comment was the clip. Basically, the gist of the clip was that if you're gonna do stuff like that, party and drink and whatever, you got to be really careful about it becoming a habit. You got to pick your spots, and we're not saying you can never go have fun with your team. It was like, just you got to pick your spots. That was the message of the clip.
Yeah.
And he said, 2004, said all the
So
pro,
we're talking 17 years old.
yeah, all the pro hockey players watching this and laughing right now because all they do is train, play, and drink. That was the comment
was the
that
comment.
this kid left. Yeah.
So to be really clear, like negative comments don't really bother me at all. Like, because I grew up since 4 years old being a hockey player, and people are always telling you can't do that.
Yeah.
You should make sure that you go to school. No one makes the NHL, all that kind of stuff. But a comment like that is, like, again, I don't really care, but it's just kind of funny because I want people to understand the point of this. Like, first of all, let's remove hockey from the situation. If you're trying to live, like, the podcast is about being your best. It's about achieving the best you can. I'm not talking about some dude that, is a below average hockey player and doesn't have a real focus on becoming a junior or a pro, getting their school paid for, getting some results out of hockey. So anyways, remove from hockey. If you wanted to have a pretty good life, the advice that I would give to you is the exact same advice, is pick your spots when you're going out.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you said, well, if you could use that comparison and say, well, all successful people do is they work and they party. Well, that's not true. It's just not true. Right? I always say success leaves clues. And yeah, so let's put it back into hockey. Now, when some kids get to junior and above, you can turn 18, 19 in Canada, and I think you're allowed to drink. And obviously, anything older than that, you're allowed to drink. So if I was a 19-year-old kid and I wanted to enjoy a beer or a couple beers or have a night where I could say, you know what, I don't have a whole bunch going on the next couple days. If I'm going to have a little bit of fun, tonight would be the night. That is acceptable. Is it optimal for performance? No. But it's acceptable, and it happens 100%. And we were never saying that hockey players or pro hockey players never go out and have a beer.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. But that's number one. What we're really focusing on is kids that are trying to make it. If you want to last, you have to have an optimal lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that comment in itself is kind of funny because, excuse me, first of all, I've trained around 100 NHL hockey players, and in the OHL, like in college, like way over that. And the bottom line is that's not what they do.
Yeah.
They don't just play hockey, train, and drink or party their ass off. Now, if we went back to 1975 to 1990, it was probably a little bit more common that younger guys used to get brought out to drink, and guys used to drink a little bit more because fitness and the competitiveness and how good you had to be a high achieving hockey player to go somewhere. I mean, we didn't have necessarily Russians coming over all the time and Czechs and people from all over the world competing for the same spots. So, and the workouts weren't quite as good, but the people are so conditioned now that you actually have to be in great shape, because you'll see guys falling off real fast if they don't. The performance can't be there. Now, if you talk to the people that I hang out with that play in the NHL, it's very, very few and far between. And I'll just take it a step further because I have kids. And my kids, one of the arguments were when they were growing up, not Charlie so much because he's young, but I have a 26-year-old and a 24-year-old, I think. There's something like that in there, whatever. So when they were going through their teenage years, their first comment all the time would be, well, you did it. And the actual truth is, no, I didn't. And I got to tell you why. Because there was times when I did have a couple beers, but I was focused on being a hockey player. But even if I wanted to be, if I wanted to drink, my days consisted of just like any other hockey player. You're so busy being a hockey player and finishing hockey games at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night on Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sunday nights, that you don't have the time.
Yeah.
So raising my kids, when they would come to that argument, I would explain that to them. I said, no, I had curfew. I had to be in at 10 o'clock at night, minimum. And my weekends were on the bus or with my hockey team and with coaches, and they certainly didn't allow you to go out and party.
Yeah.
So it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
So just to be real clear on that point, it's like, are there people that do it? 100%. That's the way life is. But if you are looking at the league or the OHL, college, whatever as a whole, the focus is becoming if you don't, you're not going to last if you do that. And we're talking about, some people could probably get away with it, and we're talking about, like you said, that small 1% guy that can just do whatever they want because they're going to be good enough. But the average guy, or the majority of the players, don't have the opportunity to go out there and party because they'll be out of the league so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are growing up now, coming from all over the world, and instead of drinking beer, they're eating kale salad. And that's just the way it is, and their training and their mobility and all that stuff is so different. And so that is the reality. Now, am I ever saying that a 16 or 17-year-old doesn't go out and have a couple beers? No, would never say that.
Well, that's not what we said.
But
either.
that's not what we said. Yeah, exactly. So you can throw that in context too.
Well, so my thing was, I just laugh at these comments because you get these kids that come on and they want to talk and like whatever. It's a social media thing and like whatever.
That's why I never check it.
Yeah. So and that's why it doesn't actually bother us. It's just funny to read because. So this is what I was saying to you, is like, you're a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old with the confidence to come on a clip where you have a guy that's trained 100 plus NHL hockey players giving you perspective, and more
way
than that,
plus 100
junior OHL hockey players, right? And then a guy that's been through the same path, haven't trained 100 NHLers, but been through college, been through junior, went through it. Yeah. And you got a 17-year-old that's coming on and saying, well, that's not what they do. And it's like, what do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's funny then, because then a couple other people, they'll throw out, like you were saying, the 1%. So like one of the common names that were in the comments, there's talking about a guy like Tyler Seguin, right?
That's
like,
that was one of the comments?
One of them was like, well, yeah, say that to Tyler Seguin or like Patrick Kane or whatever.
First overall or second overall.
And I'm like, you're talking about the 0.5% of the 1% that can get away with that? That's who you're going to judge your opinion on that guy?
Right.
You're not Patrick Kane. You're not Tyler Seguin. And if you're going to make it as a professional, you're much more likely to make it as a guy like Dalton Prout, where you're a 4, 5, 6 defenseman and you got to scrap to stay there. That's probably more who you're going to be.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably not going to be Crosby. You're not. And then even of those 1% guys, it's not like all of them are just out getting wrecked every night either. The majority of them are not doing that still. Right? So what are you gonna point to Evander Kane as your example?
Yeah.
Like that's the guy you're gonna model after? He's way too good at hockey, and he can afford to get away with it a little bit more than other guys. But even that is gonna run out for him, right?
Yeah.
So it's just funny, like the lack of perspective. So we have a lot of young kids that are listening to this, and you need to understand, like, we're not just saying like rainbow and sunshine stories for you guys to try to get you, like, this is the reality. And as soon as we see some of these professional guys that you've trained, as soon as they get off, and it doesn't even have to be booze. Like we had the one guy up there that he kept going golfing and missing his workouts.
Yep.
And that was the end of his career.
Yep.
See you later.
Yeah.
Because you're not training in the summertime, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's too good.
So it's just funny to watch some of these comments, and we talked about before, like the being a beauty thing and all that. And some of these kids that comment, they play junior hockey. And it's like, yeah, this is why you won't progress. Like, this is why. It's this attitude that will be the reason why 99% of you guys don't move on. And that is what the statistic is. It's a funnel, right?
Yeah.
And when you go to make the next jump, if you're all hopped up and you think you made it because you played junior and you get to wear a jacket and go on the bus for the weekend, you're not making nothing, man.
Well, so, and when you said that this podcast, a lot of younger kids listen to it, that's true, but we also have a lot of junior and some pro guys that listen to this as well. And so the message has to be clear, because this is not about, I mean, imagine if our podcast was about, we gave advice of like in being sincere, like, yeah, just go and have fun and just enjoy it and get drunk and who cares? Like, that's the way it is. I mean, it doesn't even make sense.
Makes no sense. Yeah.
But having said that, you were saying, what you made me think about is, do you remember about a month and a half, maybe a month ago, we've had two guys in here that were very, very high draft picks in the OHL, very high. Like, I'm not going to say how high because it would reveal who they are, and I don't want to say their names, but very, very high draft picks. And they were talking to my son and Jerv about one of their billets had a beer fridge, and he can just go in there anytime he wants. And so that one guy didn't have the best work ethic. Like, he doesn't really know how to do a workout. Hard work. My idea of hard work and his idea of hard work were two different things. Yeah. So he gave my son that advice, and Jerv that advice, and you just went up to them right after and said, "Yeah, that's why he's not playing in the NHL because he doesn't get it. Yeah. He just thought that he could just be good enough." Yeah. And there was the other one that had a similar thing, not with the booze, just didn't do the work that he had to do. Yeah. And you're going to find out real fast or very quickly that that you have to be on top of your game unless you're Evander or Patrick Kane or Tyler Seguin. And they get away with it.
You make this point all the time, is like, today's your easiest day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, tomorrow isn't easier than today. So, like, for some of these guys, these really, really high picks that we had in here, it's like they maybe got there and think they made it. Like, I'm here. I made it. It's like, no, you're in the OHL. You're not a professional yet.
No.
And the other point I wanted to make about it too is that there's a difference between trying to make it and then what your habits are when you're there, you know? Yeah. And so the point that we were making was that if you want to make it, you can't afford to have this as a habit that you're into, because you won't make it.
Yeah.
Once you're there, if you're a grown adult and you've been playing 5 years of professional and you pick your spots a little bit more, and now we're talking about the behaviors of adults that are professional hockey players, that's not exactly the same thing. You know, maybe you have a contract for 6 years and you know that, okay, I got 6 years that I'm going to be for sure playing. And maybe for the first 2 years, you loosen up a little bit. And then once your contract year comes around, you start to tighten it right back up again, right? Yeah. And that would be a difference when you're in that professional position now. Yeah. But that's not what we're talking about.